Hello and welcome to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today we'll be talking about why Bo Burnham is already a comedy legend. If you don't know who he is yet, he's a stand-up comedian, but he also uses music, performance arts, and all other sorts of mediums for his comedy. In fact, he just directed Chris Rock's last stand-up routine, and he just wrote and directed his first movie. But today I want to focus primarily on his stand-up and why that in particular is so great. The greatest comedians of all time are all known for their storytelling ability. They don't just string together random jokes to be funny, they actually tell a story that's humorous and is actually interesting.
I went to penitentiary. Gene Wilder, I did a movie. I went to, not me personally, I went to do a film in penitentiary. Oh man, it was strange because it's like 80% black people. And what's strange about that is that there are no black people in Arizona.
Bo Burnham does have some one-liners sprinkled throughout his comedy.
I had a hot dog for breakfast today, and afterwards I felt like this. Because I couldn't control my stools.
But there's an overarching theme that connects all of his jokes throughout each individual special. So much so that he might actually miss a joke completely if you weren't paying attention since the beginning. Bo Burnham creates the illusion of not really caring about the performance, but pre-plans every second of his show ahead of time.
I hope there's some surprises for you, or some, Jesus, sorry. It's a good start. I hope there's some...
Meant to knock the water over, yeah, but you all thought it was an accident.
Because of how intricate his jokes are, they wouldn't even work unless the timing was perfect. This kind of dedication goes far beyond practicing jokes to yourself in front of a mirror until it's funny. The dedication he has to perfecting his show is the equivalent of choreographing a ballet. Every single second has to be right or it falls apart.
We know, yeah. We think 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 we know, yeah.
Each one of his routines has a climax that is a culmination of all the jokes leading up to it. It's usually a grand performance that is amazing to watch, but also extremely insightful and intellectual. It often isn't even really actually that funny on the surface, it's more introspective. All the greatest comedians toe the line between making good comedy and making a statement. By the end of George Carlin's career, he wasn't even saying jokes anymore. He was just stating facts.
The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice.
And Bo Burnham is far ahead of his age with his performances, and says some of the most profound things in joke format so you just laugh at it and don't really realize it until after the fact. For an example, I want to dissect the final performance from his Netflix special, Make Happy. It starts out as a simple parody of Kanye West, which is honestly already funny enough.
I got lots of shit to say.
But then he starts listing problems in his life that are trivial, silly, but ones that we can all relate to.
I have a huge amount of trouble fitting my hand inside of a Pringle can. I can get my hand like 4 inches into the can.
But then, as with all things Bo Burnham, it takes a turn for the serious. And in fact, you realize it was never really silly and lighthearted at all. All the silly, trivial little things that he brings up are actually metaphors for something a lot bigger and a lot deeper. It starts with the Pringle can being a metaphor for life, with the Pringles at the bottom being his hopes and dreams. He tries to reach them, but no matter what he does, he can't get to them. Then you end up going to drastic measures, the tilting of the can. But by that time, all these things that have accumulated along in your life come along with your dreams that you never thought would happen. And by that point, you don't even really want it anymore.
But then I have to tilt the can into my mouth. But by that point, a bunch of crumbs have accumulated at the bottom of the can, so they all go spilling onto my face.
He then goes on to say that he hopes that he has a daughter, so that someone in his house can finally actually reach the Pringles. He's already resigned himself to defeat in this matter, but he's hoping that at least someone in his family will actually be able to reach their goals and dreams in life. Then he has a metaphor about his body and the gym.
I don't go to the gym, cause I'm self-conscious about my body. But I'm self-conscious about my body, cause I don't go to the gym.
This is honestly a pretty simple one. Just switch out the words. He doesn't do comedy because he hates himself, but he does comedy because he hates himself. It becomes an endless cycle. He then reiterates the Pringles bit with the Chipotle burrito bit. Once again, he's trying to take advantage of everything that he wants in life, putting it all together and wrapping it up neatly into a perfect little life. But he doesn't even get the ingredients that he wants, and by the time that he has everything, he realizes that most of it's not even important anymore. The whole thing ends up falling apart, and he wishes that he left some things out, and he wishes that he put more emphasis on other things.
I got the letters if I knew it wasn't.
Would I get the cheese if I knew I wouldn't? Would I get the peppers if I knew they wouldn't? Man, I
And in both jokes, he ends up blaming the burrito maker and the Pringles manufacturer for his problems.
Dude, you should have warned me. You're a burrito expert. You should have told me.
And I think this is a metaphor for him blaming God for his problems. I think his question is, if God was real, why wouldn't he make life easier? He then admits that none of these are actually the biggest problems to him. His biggest problem is his need to perform for people. And that becomes his biggest problem in life, because he wants to help other people, but he can't even help himself.
Come and watch the skinny kid with a steadily declining mental health, and laugh as he attempts to give you what he cannot give himself.
Bo Burnham describes himself as a kid with a steadily declining mental health. That's how Robin Williams described himself shortly before he died. And then on top of that, he says, no matter what I say, no matter how serious I am, as long as it sounds funny and it rhymes, everybody's just gonna laugh. And the crowd proves it to him by laughing.
You can tell them anything if you just make it funny, make it rhyme.
And he says, well, if they don't get it the first time, then I can repeat it until they get it. And so he repeats the whole song again, and nobody gets it.
You don't even know the half of this right now, right now. Handle this right, I'll handle this right, handle this right now.
They're all so caught up in the light show and the funny jokes that they lose the message behind the show itself. Bo Burnham finally admits defeat and says, well, I hope you're happy, in reference to the fact that he's not. He sees that nobody understands him in the crowd and hopes, well, at least my performance did something for someone. It's an amazing introspective art piece that is so overlooked. And it's not just this one time. He has at least one thing like this in each one of his shows.
We think we know you. We think we know you. We think we know you. We think we know you.
This goes far beyond the realm of just stand-up comedy. It's a perfectly engineered art piece, and it's hilarious. And that is why Bo Burnham is already a comedy legend. I'm Simon from Simon's Rants, and that was my rant for today.